All right. Good morning, Carol Johnson.
Good morning, Bob Ponce. How
It
are
is.
you?
I'm great. It's time for our Harlem Emergency Network weekly update, and we want to start with congratulations to Kamala Harris, the new vice presidential candidate with Joe Biden, and history in the making. And there's a lot of air of excitement around this choice here.
Oh, absolutely. It's time. It's
Mm-hmm.
time. She's a brilliant woman. She's
Mm-hmm.
a strategizer and certainly an excellent litigator. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that Pence is not looking forward to that first debate or any debate for that matter.
Well, she scored several knockouts in in her one-on-ones when she's had to interrogate people in the Senate, and I think it's not even a fair fight, but that's fine with me.
Well, now he'll be the focal point of the whole thing. No one else will be a part of that. So
Hmm.
dig in 100%. Just go
Hmm.
in straight, no chaser.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to that.
And of course, there were still some naysayers who, well, I don't like her for this, and I don't like her for that. And for the naysayers, we just have to say it's time for you to just be quiet, jump on board, because right now these are the choices we have. This is a ticket that can win. And most importantly, I think it energized the Biden campaign right now,
Hmm.
which has been kind of floundering in the last few weeks. Biden's made several statements that are just kind of a little bit, tone deaf, and there was really getting to be a sense of fatigue around the people who need to deliver, who always deliver the vote, which is obviously black women. And at the same point in time, the energizing that particular part of the base is probably one of the keys for having an opportunity to win this thing in November. Without black women support, there is literally zero chance for Biden to win.
And that's key, that crab in a barrel attitude,
Mm-hmm.
mentality. You
Mm-hmm.
um that's one of the main reasons why we can't achieve a lot of stuff because we can't seem to work together.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the most dangerous position we have ever been,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and certainly in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, and so the main thing is to rid and cleanse, sanitize the White House of that virus.
You're right. Absolutely.
Because that virus is more deadly than corona right now
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because of
The
so many different ways where he's killing policies, he's killing he wants to kill healthcare, social security, he wants to gut everything. He's the danger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not just looking for the day that he leaves. I'm looking for the day when Tish James, our attorney general, will go into court and lay all of that stuff out
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, lock him up, get him out of here. If I don't see him in the prison jumpsuit, I won't be happy.
And that's all the more reason why we have to take this thing seriously, because he's aware of the risk too of him ending up in jail. I mean, there's been literally so much rampant theft that's been going on in this administration. They've gotten rid of all of the inspector general, so no one is looking at the money that's going out the door, even when it's clearly and openly been going to friends and family of the president. So it's time to basically clean all that stuff up. But in order to do it, we have to stay focused, and not only just focus on the presidential race. We need to flip seats in the Senate, and we need every local race. People who are complaining that the Democratic Party is not progressive enough, which I agree with, need to stop whining and do the work. And doing the work is acknowledging that in the primaries, progressives have been unseating a lot of long-term centrist Democrats who I believe have been part of the problem. So the progressive wing of the Democrats, if you will, are making progress. And so this is not the time to whine because you didn't get the president and vice presidential candidate that you wanted. You got the one that we're ready to have right now, and we need to run with that, right the ship, and continue to push forward for the positive changes that we all want.
And that's key because I'm telling you, Bob, if Charlie the Tuna were picked for vice president hopeful, it doesn't even matter.
That's right.
There's a point now where we just have to buckle in. We have to get out there and vote. Stop the rhetoric that my vote doesn't count.
Right.
No one's going to spend billions of dollars trying to stop your vote, your voting process, if it did not matter. These are people
Right.
that are all about money and power. They're not going to throw that kind of money away trying to suppress your vote if your vote did not matter. So, whatever thinking you have to, whatever process you have to go through in order to figure this out, even if it has to be the lesser of two evils, if you cannot see the state that not only our city is in, our country is in, but the world is in, what is it, 130 countries? Since when can is 130 countries around the world banning us? They don't even want us. They kicked us out of the European Union. I mean, if you can't see all of the mayhem first, the thievery, things are getting so much worse, and then add the pandemic on top of that as a reason to vote against this man to get him out, and we'll figure out the rest.
Absolutely.
But you can't look at that as a reason there's a problem. First, you got to get out there and register to vote. If you're not registered, and you need to check and make sure that your registration is still on the books. And if you're voting by mail, remember it requires 2 stamps.
Not only does it require 2 stamps, but you really want to do it by October 20th at the latest. You've got to leave plenty of time. You can already see they're trying to cripple the post office and nullify votes in that way. So we have to look for every trick in the book. So let's move on. Let's talk about some of the stories relating to COVID-19. One of them that we looked at this week is the fact that as we are looking at school openings, the American Academy of Pediatrics reported that 97,000 children tested positive for COVID in the last 2 weeks of July. That's crazy.
So scary. And the saddest part is that these governors who are going to mandate that schools reopen, none of them are sending their children to school. Their children will continue to learn remotely. What does that tell you? Yours are good enough to go in, but mine definitely are not. Now, you've got a school that opened, was it in Georgia, Florida? They opened and they had to quarantine 800 kids like the second day.
Yeah.
I mean, what is this telling you? So I'd say parents, fight. Keep your children home. There's no way that you can even go through that broad reopening plan. Who's got that kind of time, even in a pandemic? To read that page. How many pages is it? Over 50.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about what's going on here in New York. So the New York City has released its reopening plan. It's 101 pages. But if I was a parent, I would say you probably need to go take a look at it just so you understand what's going on and you can make an informed decision. Now, some of the things we can talk about that are in it. Students and staff will be chosen at random for temperature screenings every day prior to entering the building and will be required to conduct at-home temperature checks according to the expanded guidance, which I'm not sure how that works. But students with a temperature of more than 100 degrees will not be allowed to enter the building. Staffers, including teachers, will undergo COVID-19 testing on a rolling basis once school is in session, and Department of Education is recommending that they get checked at least once a month. Let's see. All students and teachers in classes with a confirmed case must quarantine for 14 days as they're considered close contacts. And in schools where students are going to different classes, basically quarantine is going to be mandated for all classes attended by the confirmed case. So, and students who are in quarantine will continue remote learning. COVID-19 positive individuals supposedly only allowed back to school with a clearance from a doctor and being symptom free for 24 hours without use of medication. And so there's a lot going on there. There's supposedly coordination between the Department of Health, Department of Education, the school principal, building response team. So we'll see, because what we've seen lately is a lack of coordination between New York City agencies, and we're going to keep our eye on this particular circumstance. Um, Parents who are interested in getting a copy of the reopening plan can go to schools.nyc.gov. Let me actually put that on the screen for you. And when you go to that web address, you should search for reopening plan in the search box, and it'll give you a link to this PDF file that you can download and read at your convenience. So that's what's going on in our schools, and we're still concerned about an early reopening. We're concerned about learning more about how the remote learning is going to actually work this year. We know that it did not work particularly smoothly in the springtime, and so maybe they've had a little bit more time to get the details right. But we're going to keep an eye on this story. We also encourage, if you are a parent and you have some information or questions or concerns, send us your concerns at Harlem Emergency Network at gmail.com, or you can leave information at 347-916-6119. You can leave a message for us. We'd like to hear from you and hear your concerns so that we can continue to follow this story and ask the questions that you are asking. Go ahead, Carol.
I'm sorry, that's just sounds messy at best. I always had a problem with that being a protocol for people going back into the workplace. Um,
Mm.
it's random, So if it's random and you've got millions of people that's already COVID positive, how can you test people randomly? Take temperatures randomly.
And the problem with temperature taking is, again, the fact that we already know enough about this virus to know that people are asymptomatic for a long time. So we just don't understand. I mean, by the time you have kids with 100-degree temperatures, you already have an outbreak in your school. So I'm not really um, sure, how this is going to be effective. Um, and shout out to Shanice Gatewood Ali, who's following us and who was just asking about what our options are to send our children. We are looking into this. We definitely recommend we share information for people to actually get that reopening plan from the schools.nyc.gov website. Read it for yourself and express your concerns, because now is the time. Obviously, all school is virtually imminent right now, and we're looking at it. And we're just seeing across the board so many different things. You see that two of the big football conferences have canceled their their football schedules wisely this year, and which affects obviously not just the players, it affects students and it affects fans, and it's good to see at least two of these conferences doing the responsible thing and not looking at the money aspect and looking at the safety aspect. But we don't see this across the board. And of course, we have to add to this discussion. We got to talk about Florida, which is always doing the most.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Florida. So, what are the stories coming out of Florida? Florida, restaurant workers no longer are required to test negative in order to work in restaurants in Florida. The brilliance of this, I'm obviously being sarcastic, is just incredible. Um, we also have what are the other stories in Florida? We have there is a sheriff in a town in Florida who has banned the use of masks by his deputies, and I don't even have any words for this
I
anymore.
don't either. These responses are so incredulous. And the interesting thing is everybody's just making it up as they go along. Uh,
Hmm.
there's protocols, there's ICS, there's so many different things that have already been laid out that no one's working with. The incident command system. There's certain things that's supposed to be protocol. This is how you move through an emergency. And for all the states to be sort of like on their own, it's like we're living in the OK Corral. Everybody
Hmm.
has the right to do whatever, put people in danger. Um, you've got the legislator in Indiana who says, I'm going to lock you up for 6 months if you don't wear a mask. And now all of a sudden the next day he rescinds it. I mean, what is going on? If we haven't realized yet that we are actually in a killing field, I don't know what it's going to take to wake us up.
Well,
Because
and that's why we started this live stream talking about the political situation, because there's such a direct connection. Right now, the pandemic that we're fighting is political stupidity and political profiteering over the safety of people's lives, and this is as rampant as COVID. Maybe it's more rampant because that's why COVID got to be this place, because we have people in elected offices who just literally ignored the health and well-being of their constituents to take political positions instead of safety positions. Um, and going back to Florida, they've got a situation where they have people who are testing positive who never took the test. So there's just who is running things down there. I have no idea.
and I had a friend who tested positive for SARS. And she said, "Is this the COVID test?" Says, "I don't know. You tested positive for SARS." So I mean, and it took her 2 months to get those results.
Hmm.
You know, um, but I just look at those elected officials that actually ask some sane questions. And when you're talking about the schools, Alexander Ocasio Cortez asked the Governor Cuomo directly. Um, if it's not safe to do indoor dining, why would it be safe to do indoor schooling? I mean, that's just such a common sense.
Common sense. Yes,
Why
exactly.
would it be okay? And people realize your kids are not going back. So when you have a governor who says kids are going to get it, some may die, some may get over it. It's okay. They
Hmm.
can go back to school. They're going back to school. My grandchildren are going to continue to learn at home.
Yes.
So they're telling you point blank, send your children out to be the guinea pigs.
Hmm.
And, you know, we'll be home and we'll watch it. But my attitude is you first. You send
Absolutely.
yours out first, and let's see how well they do, and then we'll think about it. If you really
Hmm.
think that it's a safe process. But when
Hmm.
you think about it, also, you're going to need more people. You're going to need people monitoring the bathroom. You're going to need more custodial help. They're going to have to be sanitizing those bathrooms every time a child uses it. Somebody's going to have to be monitoring the children that use the bathrooms. How are you going to do a complete cleansing of the school? That school needs to be cleansed every time it's opened because you don't know what's left behind. Even if you're sanitizing, you're not going to get every nook and cranny.
Hmm.
No, so you know, I, I don't know. I'm just so boggled by this whole response. It's it's mind blowing
Hmm.
how irresponsible this nation is under this quote leader.
Well, the thing we have to continue to emphasize is exercise a high degree of common sense. Exercise a black grandmother level of common sense. And that means, yes, you're going to continue to use your mask. You're going to continue to wash your hands and use hand sanitizer and follow those protocols regularly. And you have to make evaluations on all the situations, whether it be your kids in school, whether it be your work environment, and make decisions personally based on your safety, because it's evident that you cannot necessarily expect the people um, who are administrators of whatever situation you're involved in to always make the right choice for your best interest. So it is really important that we have to look out for ourselves. We have to call it out when we see it. And this is not the time to be quiet. If you're not comfortable about any situation relating to your education or your workplace or where you are shopping or eating or whatever, you really need to speak up on these things now, because this is not the time to be quiet. This is the time to be heard and make sure you're heard clearly. And as I said, if you have information to share about this, make sure your voice is heard to us, because we're a platform to continue to look at these things. We will continue to talk about health and immune system building. That it's a travesty that this has not been emphasized. We've got 160,000 people dead in this country, and no one is talking about the connection with vitamin D deficiency and the people who died. No one is talking about protections from vitamin C and vitamin zinc and other nutrients that we know help protect the body against COVID-19, as well as a variety of other things. And at the worst case scenario, if oh well, we're not sure if these things don't work. Well, we know that these vitamins promote overall general health, which is what you need to survive it. So there should be no questions about immune system boosting. There's also seems to be a rush to line everybody up for vaccines that have not been thoroughly tested, and they're not sharing information that the vaccines that they're trying to develop for COVID-19 are based on some new ways to do vaccines that include DNA that will literally rewrite your own genetic code. And they're not talking about these things openly. They're just looking to rush something into the marketplace that hasn't been fully vetted and tested. And so we're going to continue to look at these issues and challenge the efficacy and safety of every situation, because quite frankly, if we don't do it for ourselves, no one is going to do it for us.
Well, Russia has an approved vaccine.
Yeah, yeah.
Approved vaccine.
Yes, it was approved, but it wasn't tested.
It
And,
wasn't tested.
and that's the type of thing we're talking about. Well, we don't need to test. Let's rush it out there. We'll test it, and the testing is after the approval. They
Right.
approve it, and then a whole bunch of people use it, and then that's the test. And then if it goes wrong, it's like, oh well, you know. And so we're very much dead set against our people, black and brown people, being used as guinea pigs. Oh, that would never happen in America.
Oh, absolutely not. No, no.
Tuskegee.
Husky, polio blanket. No, that never
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, yeah, yes.
First
And
inhabitants, the Indians. Oh no, that would definitely never happen.
mhm, mhm. Well, that's the alarm telling us it's probably time for us to wrap up our our broadcast. Um, Once again, congratulations to Kamala Harris on her selection to be the vice presidential candidate. We're looking forward to seeing her serve this country in the role of vice president, possibly eventually being the first black woman president. And I
Yes,
think that, I think one of the reasons her selection was good is that she's somebody that's got the depth of experience that could handle the pressures that if she is called upon to step into that office, that she can handle it. It's a very high pressure environment, and we need somebody who's got solid background and experience. And I know that she's had that, and so we're celebrating that today. We're celebrating with all of us who are listening that us here in New York. So many of us have survived this crisis and are looking forward. And once again, we will continue to share information. Join us every Wednesday morning here at 9:30. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're obviously archived on those platforms. So share this information, like, subscribe, do a watch party, send the links to your friends and relatives, and make sure that we all stay informed.
so thank you again for joining us as always. We're excited to be able to come to before you every week and bring you this information. And again, we'd like to hear from you.
Yep.
You know,
So on
we
behalf of Harlem Emergency Network, have a great day and a great week, and we will see you next week here at the same time.
remain safe and stay blessed.